What's good, y'all? It's your boy HB. Final round. Let's talk about this, man. Is Anthony Joshua mentally weak? Now, before we jump into this, man, I want to be very, very careful. I am not just a fan, I'm a competitor in this sport. And I understand that it's not easy to walk in that ring. I don't care what the level is, amateur, professional. Hell, I don't even care if it's just sparring. I have a great respect for people that willingly walk in that ring and fight. Okay, I don't care if you suck. I don't even care if you quit, right? If you quit on your stool or you say, I'm out. I have a great appreciation and respect for anybody to get in there and try, because it takes a lot of guts. It takes a lot of courage, especially at the level of Anthony Joshua. It's not just your reputation on the line. It's also your health and your well-being. And even in sparring, like I said, if you don't believe sparring can get ugly, go watch some of Mike Tyson's opponents in sparring. It's not pretty. You know, you can get very hurt in sparring as well. So that being said, I want to put a little context to this. You know, when I'm going to be critical of a fighter's mental toughness, I'm comparing him to his peers. I'm comparing to the other greats in the division or the top tiered competitors in the division. Before the Andy Ruiz fight with Anthony Joshua, we all saw this guy possibly being one of the top heavyweights of this era. And some people would even argue one of the top heavyweights of all time. Now, that's by the wayside, obviously, but nonetheless, when we're calling into question this man's mental fortitude, it's coming from a critical standpoint of comparing him with the other guys, the top tiered fighters in the division. And I think that's fair. You know, I'm never gonna go to the length of a fan that calls a fighter a pussy, you know, calls a fighter a bitch, calls a fighter weak or soft or any of that. That to me, that's flagrant. If any of those guys knew what it really took to become great fighters, especially at that level, and I don't care what you say, Anthony Joshua was still a great fighter. He was a champion at the heavyweight division. You know, you can't scoff at that. It's not right to say shit like that. So that being said, let's get in the conversation. When I'm calling into question Anthony Joshua's mental toughness, it's not from that petty emotional standpoint. It's more of comparing him to the other top fighters in his divisions and even some of the great boxers in that division in the past. Okay, so is Anthony Joshua mentally weak? This is a tough one. I think it's 50-50, because one of the issues I saw, okay, in this fight, and the reason why I picked Usyk was because I knew Anthony Joshua was going to take the wrong game plan into this fight. He hinted towards it into the buildup, right? Because he's still slimming down. He was still slimming down at 231. You know, almost indicating like I'm looking to go 12 rounds. And he was saying in press conferences and interviews that, you know what, it sounded like he thought he can outbox Usyk, which I thought was crazy. You know, Anthony Joshua is a good boxer, but there's levels, right? And I hate to say it, but he's almost like a fundamentally sound Deontay Wilder, because before the Ruiz fight, he was a knockout puncher. He was a knockout artist. You know, he was a seek and destroy type fighter. You know, and that got lost. In my opinion, he lost that edge after the first Ruiz fight, okay? And maybe not so much lost his edge, he lost his way. He lost who he was. You know, there's always going to be somebody that has the kryptonite to beat your style, right? And from that first Andy Ruiz fight, I give him a pass for it, because it was a shit show, right? This guy comes in late notice. You look at Andy Ruiz, you take him for granted. You don't think much of him. But Andy Ruiz is good heavyweight. I don't care what y'all say. I don't care if he struggled with Chris Arreola, because styles make fights. Just like I think Arreola was just a very tough fight for Andy Ruiz stylistically. So let's not shit on Andy Ruiz because he struggled with that fight. But I also think that Andy Ruiz was a stylistic nightmare for Anthony Joshua. You know, believe it or not, Andy Ruiz has very deceptive speed, great combination, great counter-punching ability, and that, you know, even though he's undersized, he's a pressure fighter, and I think that that really was a stylistic mismatch for Anthony Joshua. On top of that, he didn't prepare for it. He didn't prepare for it because he walked in and replaced somebody else. So I give him a pass for that. And you got to remember, in that fight, he was the seek and destroyer. He did knock Andy Ruiz down, and he looked to finish the fight. But unfortunately, he got caught with a punch that kind of changed the trajectory of his career moving forward. He's kind of become lost. He's kind of in like this state of limbo, stylistically, in my opinion. And, he made the proper adjustments for the second fight with Andy Ruiz. He did the right thing. Okay, he understood, I can't hang and bang with this dude. He's a better combination puncher. He's better with speed. And he's got good power. And every time I let my shots go, he comes back with 3, 4, 5 punch combos countering me back. I can't hang in the pocket with this guy. I have to box on the back foot. I have to slim down because I have to make it for 12 rounds. I'm used to knocking motherfuckers out within 6. He made the proper adjustments, and I applaud him for that. But then this new way of, he almost like adopted this new style of like, I'm going to be more calculated and box off the back foot, which was a huge mistake because you got to do what got you to the dance. Okay. Yes, you ran into a guy that gave you trouble and you needed to make adjustments, but that doesn't mean you need to approach every fight after that and adopt that same style that he made for the second fight with Ruiz. No, he should have went back to who he was that got him to where he had all the success. Every guy is going to have, every boxer, even Floyd Mayweather, believe it or not, is going to have somebody that has that kryptonite stylistically. You could say it was Castillo for Floyd Mayweather. There's always somebody out there that has the right style to beat you. It doesn't matter what their record are or how good they are. There's somebody out there who can give you trouble. And Andy Ruiz was that guy to give Anthony Joshua trouble. But unfortunately, he thought that he needed to completely transform who he was for the fights following after that, the matchups with Andy Ruiz. After he beat Ruiz and pushed him to the side and got that over with, he should have went back to being Anthony Joshua, the seek and destroy. He should have put his muscle back on and go back to what made him successful. And this is why it's hard for me to say he's mentally weak, right? Because I don't think the issue was with this fight with Usyk, he took in the wrong game plan. He needed to press forward. He needed to cut off the ring. He needed to put pressure, but not recklessly, right? Now, obviously, it would have been better for him to do that recklessly, just walk in and try to, overwhelm Usyk. He would have put on a better fight, but even that wouldn't have worked. I wanted Anthony Joshua to come in with the right game plan, go back to being the seek and destroyer, cut off the ring, use your jab, at the very least probe with it, time that right hand to the body to slow Usyk down, and then set up those headshots with the right cross. I want him to put pressure, cut off the ring, get in the clinch, wrestle around with Usyk, tire him down, and then knock him out. And knock him out at the very least at 8 rounds or within 6. That would have been very hard to do within 6, but at least get him out at 8, because obviously if you're going to come in bigger and going back to the seek and destroy Anthony Joshua, going 12 rounds is not ideal for you. So go in there and try to knock your opponent out and overwhelm him. But in order for him to do that, he needed to come in with the right game plan and work on some skills in terms of being a pressure fighter to execute that game plan perfectly. And a lot of people are calling the question, is this dude mentally weak? Is he mentally, does he have the toughness? And I got to say, I think it's a fair question, because even though, here's the thing. You saw that look he had in the fight, like a deer in headlights. He had that in the Ruiz fight as well. Where he looks lost and he doesn't know what to do. And I think that's genuinely the case. He got into that fight. He thought he was a better boxer than he actually was. And He realized that Usyk was on a different level in terms of skill, and he didn't know what to do. His game plan was to go in there and box for 12 rounds with a better boxer. And I thought that was absolutely insane and crazy. And at that point, when you don't know what to do, when you come in and your game plan fails, how was he supposed to make adjustments? Because let's be real, y'all. Even though I think Anthony Joshua is a fundamentally sound Deontay Wilder, he's not a deep boxer. He's not a 12-round fighter. He's not somebody who's going to constantly create openings and set things up and make adjustments round by round. The only adjustments that Anthony Joshua can make are camp by camp, fight by fight. He has to go back to the drawing board and then adopt the game plan and then go into the next fight. But he didn't have that ability. He doesn't have the boxing skills to constantly make those adjustments in a fight. He's not a style bender. He's not a style bender like Terrence Crawford or Tyson Fury, right? He's not a style bender. It's not his game. Okay? So he came in with this game plan. It was the wrong game plan. And when that game plan got exposed by Usyk, he was like, fuck, I don't know what to do. And that's right. He of course he didn't know what to do. There was nothing he could do at that point. I mean, the only thing, and this is why I do kind of call into question his mental toughness, is that, look, you're in your backyard, man. You're in your hometown. And you know what? He wasn't in a bad position to try and catch rounds and try to kind of even it on the scorecards, because he wasn't completely terrible boxing off the back foot, right? But I think that there got to a certain point in that fight to where it's like you got to bite down on your mouthpiece, and you know what? It's not going to be the most technically sound stuff. You're not going to have a clean game plan, but you got to fight. You got to fight. You got to put your foot on the gas pedal, and you got to fight. You can't let a motherfucker come into your house and fucking take your shit like that. There comes a point you got to bite down on that mouthpiece. There's so much on the line. There's your reputation. There's future fights. I mean, there was a mega fight with Tyson Fury that was going to go down if Tyson Fury handles his business with Wilder. A mega fight with lots of money on the line. Everybody's relying on you. And you got to bite down on that mouthpiece, and you got to fight. And you know what? I don't think that would have worked for Anthony Joshua. I don't think it would have worked if he went in there and he pressed on it recklessly, right? You have to do it in a calculated manner. Like, you want to put pressure, but you don't want to brawl. But at that point where this man's coming into your backyard, coming up from the cruiserweight division, and you're the heavy favorite for this fight, and there's so much on the line in terms of your career, your belts, big fights in the future, you just got to throw it all out there and say, fuck it. It gets to a point to where all the boxing technique and skill needs to go out the window, and you just got to be a dog. You just got to be a fucking dog, and you got to say, you know what? Not in my house. And if you're going to do this to me in my house, I'm going out on my shield. And you know what? I think he would have got knocked the fuck out if he did that. If he pressed the action without any sort of game plan or skill set behind it. He probably would have got knocked the fuck out, but I would respect that more. I think a lot of people would have appreciated it more than him kind of dancing his way out the ring, and skating to a decision. And you know what? It might have been a smart move, honestly. It might have been, because, and this is why I'm having a hard time call out his mental toughness, because for one, let's go back for a second. I've seen him against Klitschko. That was the first time, in my opinion, he was tested. Okay, that was the first time he was tested. And I saw him get knocked down. He gets back up, and he wins the fight. He wins the fight. I saw a dog in there. I saw a dog, that night in Anthony Joshua. I saw somebody who was a true champion, who had heart, guts, and determination. And man, the hardest time to get tested is when the first time, when you're not accustomed to it. You never experienced it. And, it's in front of a big crowd. And he proved himself. against one of the all-time greats of the heavyweight division. He proved himself. So I know there's something in there. That's why I can't sit here and completely say this man is weak. But a lot of us are wondering, why didn't you press the action more in that fight? Even if you didn't have the right tools to do it, why didn't you just try? And I think that's what we're all calling the question. But I think Anthony Joshua is a very sensible man. I think he's very intelligent. And I don't mean so much in boxing IQ in the ring, but just intelligent person in general. I think he wanted to skate out of there. And I think he knew there was a rematch clause, and I think that he possibly even knew, who knows, maybe the judges will favor me, even though I don't know what judge would have favored him with that type of beating he took. But boxing is crazy. Boxing is crazy, and we know that. We've seen some crazy shit on the scorecards before. And I thought maybe he was trying to skate out of there to live another day. And maybe that's fair. Maybe that's fair on Anthony Joshua's part. Because it sounds like he's initiating the rematch clause. He's going to get to go back to the drawing board. And I think he will take the approach that I thought he should have went into the fight. Put pressure, get on this man, be the bigger man, dominate him. First things first, though, he's got to put that weight back on and be that seek and destroy Anthony Joshua that he used to be. You know, he's going to have to pick up some skills, because pressure fighting takes skills. Don't get it twisted. There's a difference between brawling and there's a difference between pressure fighting. Brawlers will stalk you in a circle and they'll take 5 shots to try and land one, and it's not an efficient and effective way to pressure your opponent. You know, but pressure fighters like Julio Cesar Chavez or Triple G, you know, or even Canelo Alvarez, you know, they cut off the ring. They attack you to the body. They establish their jab. They have good subtle defense as they're walking towards you. They cut off the real estate. You know, they cut off they give you little room. They take away your best asset, your footwork, with body shots and cutting off the ring. And that's what Anthony Joshua needs to do for the second fight. And I have a feeling that he will try and do that. Will he be successful? I can't say. I don't know. I think he would have been if he took that approach for the first fight. But mentally, he might be broken. He might be broken, just like Wilder might be broken against Tyson Fury in this next matchup. So, to me, there is a little bit of mental weakness because, or maybe not so much mental weakness, but it's just hard for me to call him mentally weak, because I tend to think he took a chance. And remember, I didn't pick Anthony Joshua this fight, so I'm not defending him or making excuses. I'm really looking at this from an objective standpoint. Maybe he knew that he got outboxed and he was trying to preserve himself for the second fight. Or maybe even get a lucky call on the scorecards. Maybe. I think so. Because he's going to get to go back to the drawing board, and now he knows that he's not going to be able to outbox this dude, and he needs to put pressure and get on this dude. And that's not something I think he would have been able. And you got to understand, he had a game plan. It was the box for 12 rounds. That was the game plan. And, you know, once again, he's not that type of boxer that can make adjustments within a fight constantly. Because even if he did make an adjustment, Usyk would have made an adjustment, and then he would have to come back with a response. He came in with the game plan, and it was the box for 12 rounds, and he committed to it. And that's what you kind of have to do. You kind of have to commit. I don't know what his freaking corner was telling him. I couldn't hear it because every time every time they had their rest, they would put up the commercials for DAZN, which pissed me off because I wanted to hear what the cornermen were saying. So I didn't know what his trainers were telling. I don't know if his cornermen were telling him, like, hey, you need to box off the back foot, commit to the game plan, or, you know, be patient. Or if they were telling him, hey, you need to get dirty, you need to get in there, and you need to fight. You know, I still think even if he did make that adjustment and kind of tried to walk Usyk down, I still think he would have lost, maybe even got knocked out. But I think it would have been a little bit more respectable, as crazy as that sounds. And, you know, it's not easy to just switch up your game plan, you know, in a fight when you don't possess that ability to that skill set, when you're not a style bender, when you're not used to that, you know. So do I think Anthony Joshua is mentally weak? I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and say no. I don't think he is, you guys. I don't think he's mentally weak, because he's proved that he's tough. He's proved in that Klitschko fight that there's some type of dog in there. I just think he's been approaching this with the wrong game plan. I think he got lost in translation to who he is. He's a seek and destroy fighter. You're not going to become a technical boxer on the level of Usyk. Just like Deontay Wilder's not going to become this brilliant fucking boxer within one training camp. Is there something Deontay Wilder can do, you know, and pick up just enough, like just simply going down to the body? Yes, but he's not going to become this brilliant back-footed fighter in one training camp. Just like I don't think Anthony Joshua is going to become this highly skilled style bender within and box for 12 rounds and constantly make adjustments. No, he's a seek and destroy fighter. He needs to bulk up. He needs to be who he was originally. And, you know, he needs to look for the fight. And I've seen him do it. I've seen him. That's how he got to this position. You know, as a heavyweight, he was a seek and destroy fighter. And I think he needs to get back to doing that. I think he needs to be himself, be who he is, be who he's comfortable with. He made the right adjustments for Andy Ruiz. And that's it. Okay, you beat this guy. You know, you made the appropriate adjustments. Now get back to being who you are. Because, believe it or not, the style you had before Andy Ruiz is what got you to the dance. So live and die by that. You are who you are. I'm not saying don't try and improve your boxing ability and skills, but don't get too lost in trying to be something you're not. You're not a better boxer than Usyk, and you shouldn't have tried to come into this fight trying to be. And I don't care what you guys say. Here's the thing about this whole toughness thing, this whole Rocky mentality. It does not mean shit if you're not in the fight. Okay, what do I mean by that? If you don't have the right game plan or the skill set, if you can't land against your opponent and he's bopping you upside the head constantly, I don't care how tough you are. You're gonna get stopped or you're gonna get knocked the fuck out. I don't care how tough you are. I don't care if it's Rocky himself in the living flesh. Now, there are a few fighters who can deal with that, but even Ruslan Provodnikov, right? The Russian Rocky, even I saw in his last fight, he's taken so much punishment that he cannot sustain that. He cannot sustain taking 5 shots just to give 1 or 2. It's not sustainable, you guys, especially if that's not even your style of fighting. Anthony Joshua is not a Rocky. Okay, he's not a Ruslan Provodnikov. You know, but the way you display your mental toughness is by staying in the fight. By, you know, you first have to be in the fight, right? To even show how tough you are. Because we saw that look like the deer in the headlights. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to go from here. You know, this guy, I don't know what to do with him, which Anthony Joshua had. You know, he's getting outboxed. And if you don't know what to do, how can you even show how mentally tough you are? You can't. You have to land punches consistently. You have to be, you know, defending yourself somewhat, you know, in terms of defense. So I don't think he even had a chance to even show what he could, you know, his toughness. So is Anthony Joshua mentally weak? No, I just think he's lost. I think he's lost, and he's lost in terms of his boxing style and identity. And I think he needs, if he's gonna stand a chance, make a comeback. And dude, we can't shit on these guys for losing multiple fights. And the fact that he says he wants to get back in the ring and fight, and I don't know if it's going to stand, but the fact that he wants to get back to the drawing board tells me a lot. It tells me a lot. Now, if that stands, who knows? But look, you guys, if he has a chance to redeem himself. And then after that, he's going to have another chance to if say he wins, I don't know if there'll be another fucking rematch, but I would tend to think that there'll probably be a match with Tyson Fury if Tyson Fury does his part of the deal. He has a chance to redeem himself. Guys lose, man. Guys lose. And Usyk we need to stop scoffing at him for being a cruiserweight. This dude's a heavyweight. He's been training against heavyweights his whole life. He's a phenomenal fucking boxer. Let's not shit on Anthony Joshua too much for losing to, in my opinion, who's now at the top of the list of pound for pound best fighters in the world. That's my opinion. I think he is. I got him past Canelo now. And, you know, that was nothing to be ashamed of losing. I think what he needs to be kind of calling the question is his, you know, what is he doing with his trainers? What kind of decision is he making towards game plans and fights? And, you know, he needs to stop losing him. He needs to get back to who he was, all right? And stop losing sight of what got him to the dance. You know, once again, he made the right adjustments for Andy Ruiz. That dude had the kryptonite for you. And then once you solve that problem, which he did, go back to being who you are, because that is what made you one of the top heavyweights or one of the top competitors at the heavyweight division. So no, I don't think Anthony Joshua is mentally weak. I think he's a little too smart outside of the ring. He's a very calculated, measure, kind of logical, rational guy. And I think that can kind of take that fighting spirit away from you in the ring, but I don't think he's mentally weak. I just think he's lost right now. I think he's lost mentally more so than mentally weak. I just think that's what I believe. So comment down below, tell me what you think. Do you think Anthony Joshua is mentally weak? Like, subscribe to the channel, you guys. It's a new channel. We're coming up in the world. And yeah, come join me, you guys. But I'd love to know what you think, and I'd love to have a conversation with you guys down below in the comment section. It's your boy HB, get at me.